Welcome back, everyone. You are listening to All About Healing, and I'm your host, Emily Francis. And today's guest, Joe McQuillen, he wrote a book, My Search for Christopher on the Other Side. And, it's such a bittersweet thing when you pick up books from people that have to share such a horrible, sad, grief-stricken story because that's their life now. That's their new normal. And a lot of times, excuse me, people write their way through it because it is one of the most healing avenues for your heart ever. It's how I started writing a long time ago as well. So one of the things that I want to talk about is that the last question that I asked Joe on this show was for people that have lost a child, or anybody. It doesn't have to just be a child. I lost my dad, and I'm guilt and grief, not guilt, but grief will follow me forever and ever and ever. In fact, yesterday was the anniversary of his death, and it's been 31 years. And it's so crazy because in some ways it feels like yesterday, and in other ways it feels like 80 years ago. It's such a hard place to be. And when it comes to grief and grieving, nobody has the right to tell you how to grieve or for how long or what it should look like. There is none of that. And so when people sit down and they pen their memoir because they have been through hell and they want to help other people maybe not hurt as much, or to share the beautiful message that is, it's not over. It's not done. This is not the end. It makes me sad, and I know that it's not my job necessarily to change people's views, but I was talking to somebody recently who truly believes that when you die, that's it, it's over. You're done. And I'm always so curious about that, because where do you think you were before you got here? Where were you? And is it, it blows my mind. But faith and your connection to spirit realm is always going to be different than the person standing right next to you, even your dearest friends. Everybody has a different relationship to their spiritual power and their spirit source, and that's perfectly fine. But I'm incredibly grateful for people that share their story of grief, because I think it is really important. And I really loved his book, and they have a lot to share, and I'm excited that he's got another book coming out called Now What? So today, for the Energy Corner, what I want to talk about is directly related to this, which is when I asked him, how do you help somebody connect when they have that block to them with spiritual connection? I'm going to talk about it in a different way. There are 4 clairs. There are 4 ways that a person can feel spirit. Clairvoyant, clairsentient, claircognizant, clairaudient. Okay, people hear things and feel things differently. So some people have the gift of vision, clairvoyant. Some people have the gift of listening, clairaudient. Claircognizant is a clear knowing, and clairsentient is images, it's pictures. Okay, it's a different kind of knowing. And, although claircognizant and clairsentient, I tend to get mixed up sometimes. So if I did that wrong, I'm not looking at any notes right now. But if I did that wrong, forgive me. But those are the ways that people can get in tune with spirit, is through vision, through audio, through a sense of knowing. They feel it in their gut, they know something, or they get pictures and images, and then that's their sixth sense. So the first thing really to find out about yourself is, how do you connect? How do you personally hear or feel spiritual messages, or any kind of messages? Do you work with your spirit guide to make decisions on a day-to-day basis? Do you have that little, some people call it your subconscious, or your little guide or friend, or, but that's a spirit guide, and they're always with you and they're always helping you, at least according to my belief. So first you would want to know. Somebody like myself, I have a mixture of all of those clairs. And one of the ones that I have really well is the clairaudient. So my ability to hear things is not normal, I guess. And it's interesting because the way that, like, if I'm doing body work, so for me, spiritual energy and communication wildly improves and increases if my hands are on someone. If I'm touching somebody, I have really open, especially if I've done my prayers and I've centered myself, and then I open up and I practice Reiki, body healing, Reiki energy. If I'm in that space, the communication is usually pretty ding-dang clear. And one of the things that it does for me is that I hear music in my head when I'm working with people or if I'm around people, and I'll hear really random songs. And I used to just think it was weird and random, but now I know that I have to tune into the song and listen to what the words are. And that lets me know where the person is emotionally. So it's almost like a dial in my head, a radio dial, and I hear different songs, and the tuner will change as I'm doing the body work. And so the songs that will come through, the different lyrics, it will be a totally different song, totally different genre, totally different thing, and it will change as I'm working, and that's how I know that certain areas have cleared, and then we're into this next deeper layer, and this is what's going on, and this is where they're feeling, and then I'll check in with them for confirmation. I don't say, hey, I'm hearing this song right now, and this is what I'm thinking. So instead, I'll just kind of take the lyrics and then go, tell me where you're at. Is it this, this, this? And then I'll make sure that I get confirmation. So for me, clairaudient is a really big part of my spiritual communication. And clairvoyant, when people say that they're clairvoyant and that they can see spirits, what I want you to understand is that that doesn't mean that that person is standing right in front of them or that they see them with their open eyes. Some people can, but it's very, very rare. So a lot of times when people are clairvoyant, it comes across like a small image or picture, like a movie screen in their head, or there'll be like a tiny size little image, and they'll be able to see things. And then knowing things, clairsentient or claircognizant and clairsentient. One is the clear knowing, and one is sort of the imagery. I know things. I know it in my gut. If it comes through and I get that psychic hit, you cannot talk me out of it. I know what I know. And that's really important to me. So I always listen. And one of the things that Joe McQuillen talked about is that he gets nudged at 3 a.m. and he will listen. For me, I get nudged in the middle of the night to do my writing and to work with spirit so that my writing is more accessible to people. You know, I'll go back and I'll read for editing and I'm like, dang, that was good. Did I write that? I won't remember that I wrote that because it wasn't necessarily me. So I don't just channel write just to write. I don't journal like that. I write to write books and to put them in there. And for me, the big deal is that when spirit comes calling, I never say no. So if it's 2 a.m., 3 a.m., 4, 5, 6, I don't care. If they say, hey, I got to talk to you, I say, I'm listening. And then I'll wake up and I'll go write either on a piece of paper, a napkin, my keyboard, whatever it needs to be. I don't say no because, you know, they're not on our time frame. They don't care that we have to get up for work. Their time, they live on a place that's nonlinear time. So their idea of time is very different than ours. You know, I love the communication aspect of the spirit realm. I think it's so important. It makes life so much more meaningful because you're not out here alone thinking that you're it or that you don't have some connection to something higher. You know, even I think before I got into, you know, really deeply studying spirituality, I always believed in God, but I felt like God was something really far away and not something inside and not something that I work with on a regular basis. And now I feel like spirit is every decision that I make is never made by myself. I have to tap in and tune in with spirit and make sure that we're on the same team so that I know that I'm making the best decision for myself right now at this time. I hope that was a little bit helpful for everybody. Look up those clairs. Look up the 4 clairs. You can Google it. See which ones really work for you. Whichever one that you find yourself going back to and reading twice, that's probably the one that you should start with. You guys have been listening to All About Healing. I hope you have a great week, and I look forward to seeing you back here next Wednesday.